I was lucky enough to go to Africa in 2007. I won a grant from Eli Lilly that allowed me to go on the trip, so I felt really fortunate. The grant took me to three different places: the actual country of South Africa, the country of Botswana, and the country of Zimbabwe. I had three goals that I wanted to accomplish with my trip. I wanted to see what kind of impact man had had on South Africa. I wanted to see as many species of animals as we could in 12 days, and see what were doing there to try to protect what is some of the greatest wildlife in the planet. We flew out of Johannesburg, or we flew into Johannesburg from New York City. But along the way, we made a stop in Senegal to refuel, and this is what Senegal looks like at 3:30 in the morning from the plane window. Yes, very beautiful. This is what the Capitol building looks like. This is Mondo, our driver. We landed in Johannesburg, and I had asked my classes before I went, what do you want me to do while I'm in South Africa? And I thought for sure they'd say something like, take a picture of you riding a lion, or take a picture of you grabbing the horn of a rhinoceros. But all they really wanted to know is, since I was going to the southern hemisphere, is it true that toilet water goes down in the opposite direction when you flush a toilet? So this is my hotel in Johannesburg. First thing I did when I got there was I flushed a toilet, and it's true what they say. The water in the southern hemisphere does go down the other way. We spent one night here. This is Jock Safari Lodge. This is the Matiti Water Lodge, and we spent 8 nights in a tent. And I had grown up tent camping all my life, but tent camping in a place like Raccoon Lake or Turkey Run is way different than tent camping in Africa, as you can see by the first bullet point in this camping safety sign that we saw in one of the areas that we camped. While I was there, we were lucky enough to see the Big Five, and these are 5 photographs that I took with my own equipment. The Big Five are known as the Big Five because they are the most dangerous to hunt. And so these 5, for a variety of reasons: lion because they are fierce predators, rhino because they're so strong and they've got the horn, elephant because they're so powerful and they travel in big packs. But the buffalo are really dangerous because they're almost blind, and they will charge anything that spooks them. Quiz time. What am I standing next to here? Those of you who said a termite mound, you would be correct. This is elephant dung, and you can tell if you look real close that inside of the elephant dung there's a lot of plant matter because the elephant's digestive system works so poorly. Yes, and it does look like a giant Cocoa Puff. We saw a lot of endangered species while we were there. The wild dog was one species that we came across, but we also saw the Cory bustard, wattle crane, slaty egret. We saw cheetah, which are considered threatened but not endangered, and there are species underway to help all of those different animals currently. Our driver, or our guide, called Impala the McDonald's of the bush. One reason, because you see them everywhere, just like you see McDonald's everywhere. Another reason, they're a quick and easy meal for lions. They're really easy to capture. But the other reason they call them the McDonald's of the bush is this. And it took us a really long time to get that picture, but we were able to get the trust of this little guy long enough for him to put his tail down for us. While we were there, we went to Victoria Falls, and Victoria Falls is so massive you can't get that one postcard shot of it. It is considered one of the 8 natural wonders of the world, and for those of you who've seen Niagara Falls, that's kind of what Niagara Falls looks like next to Victoria Falls. Hoof and mouth disease is a serious issue that faces the country of Botswana. So this is actually us crossing into the border of Botswana. You can see that we're driving our truck through a disinfectant tank. That's actually our guide, Easy, there behind the wheel. You can see the snorkel on the truck. We used that when we drove through the Okavango Delta. But this is us crossing over from Zimbabwe back into Botswana, and we had to drive through to clean our tires off. We also had to get out and step on these sponges to clean off our shoes so that we would make sure we did not bring hoof and mouth into the country with us. These are what some traditional huts look like along the way. We passed several of these in Botswana. A lot of these people are cattle herders. They still live traditional lifestyles. They catch rainwater um, as their main source of drinking water. This is a soccer match that I was able to see as we were driving by. We saw this village that was getting ready for a soccer match, and I was amazed that a lot of the most all the players had uniforms. But interestingly enough, they had really nice uniforms, but 2 or 3 of the players had no shoes. And this was a field that they were going to play their match on. So those of you who think that we at the middle school don't have nice facilities need to spend a little bit more time in a place like Botswana. And just when I thought there was no way I would see this out in the middle of the bush, this actually looks like somebody welded home plate to a basketball hoop. But this is actually a sport called netball, which is a little bit different than basketball. Now the quiz, notice I'm standing in some type of small depression, and that was created by an elephant who gets himself wet and rolls around in the mud to try to get this protective layer of mud to cover him. And he loves it when the egrets ride on his back because the egrets pick off insects, so they're like a natural insect repellent. And if you notice in the picture, the elephant is eating. That was one of the jokes that we had in Africa. Everywhere you went, you saw elephant, and everybody goes, "What were they doing?" And you always said they were eating because that's pretty much all they do, because their digestive system works so poorly that food just passes right through them. This is our guide and my traveling companion Ron in front of a baobab tree. And this was an enormous tree that became very important to the Bushmen of the Kalahari because it would capture rainwater and give them a place to go where they knew they could find some fresh water. If you look closely at this giraffe's neck, you can see there's a spot on it that was created by something, and that's from walking into a power line at Kruger National Park. He actually literally walked right into the power line, and it burnt the fur off of his neck. This is the Okavango Delta, again a picture I took as we were flying in. We flew in a little 4-person plane and landed on a dirt runway that literally had a giraffe run across the runway in front of our plane as we were landing. And if you were to come to the Delta 2 or 3 months after we were there, this would all pretty much be dry, almost desert-like land. But one time a year it floods, and when the rainwater comes high, when the floods come, the animals come to the Delta. So we timed our trip so that we would be there while most of the other animals were there. This is how you get around in the Delta. You get around in these little makorus. And again, that guy, Easy, he was our guide. He's about 6'5", weighed easily over 250 pounds probably. And he was able to stand up in this makoro and not dump us into the Delta. And we're going through about a foot or 2 foot of water there. What did I learn while I was there? Botswana has a zero tolerance policy for poaching. Literally, if you're poaching in Botswana, the army will shoot and kill you. The guides in Botswana have to be licensed. It wasn't that way in Zimbabwe. The roads in Botswana are unpaved, which makes that country seem like it has more of a wild experience than South Africa, where a lot of the roads in South Africa were paved. A lot of the roads through the parks were paved. That's where the giraffe walked into the power line. So Botswana has done better work in terms of keeping their parks wild versus South Africa. Botswana also has a high revenue, low volume system where they charge a lot of money to get into their parks. Therefore, I was 5 days in the bush and we did not see another group of people. So we literally felt like we were the only people on the planet. And I actually took this picture of mama rhino and baby rhino, and you can see Papa Rhino kind of in the back corner of the picture. He did not like the fact that we were hanging around trying to get a picture of the baby. There's mama, there's baby, there's Papa. And Papa is nearsighted and known to have anger issues, so we did not hang around real long to give him a reason to charge our truck. What did I get? My trip by the numbers, we saw 162 species while we were there. We saw 106 different birds. We spent a total of 32 hours flying there and back. That's in the air. I spent over a day just in the air. 26 takeoffs and landings. I had to take 6 shots. Had to take malaria pills the whole time I was there. And while I was there, $1 US equaled 30,000 Zimbabwe dollars. I brought Zimbabwe money back and gave it to my class that year. Because it was basically just worthless. And so they all thought that I was really generous for doing that, but what I was giving them was worth about like a penny or less in our currency. Here's everything that I saw on our trip. The duiker is a very small antelope-looking creature. The kudu is enormous. I ate steenbok while I was there. Um, Wildebeest are everywhere. Uh, we actually saw a puff adder. That was like one of the only snakes I saw while I was there. Um, Slaty egret is an endangered bird, and we were able to see one. Didn't get a real good look at him, but we saw him on the wing, kind of flying away from us. Uh, the secretary bird is a very large bird that has this fantastic plume on its head. Um, the red-billed francolin are everywhere, um, all over. Laughing dove literally sounds like he's laughing at you when he makes his call. The go-away bird, same thing. Sounds like he says, go away, when he's calling you. Pearl spotted owl has these two dots on the back of its head that make it look like it's always looking at you, even when it's looking away. Fork-tailed drongo is a really erratic bird that has this erratic flight pattern, and they'll call you a drongo if they think that you're silly or crazy. They'll say you're a real drongo because the drongo can't fly straight. Yellow-billed oxpecker you saw riding around on the back of rhinos all the time. So a lot of things while I saw there. It was an amazing trip. I felt really fortunate to be able to go, and I'm glad that I got to share my experiences with my class.